Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video on Superman Lois Season 3. Today we're going to be talking about some interesting pieces of information about a potential villain that's going to come at the end of Superman Lois Season 3. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future DCTV videos later this year. Okay guys, so as you guys know, in the previous episode, episode 5 of Superman Lois Season 3, we got the big reveal that Bizarro is back, and Intergang, along with Bruno Mannheim and Onomatopoeia and the scientists that they're working with, are going to try and revive him or do something with him. And so, coming off of this, people have many theories about what they could potentially be doing. Obviously, we know they're harnessing and giving people powers. They're able to bring people back to life, so there's always the chance that they could bring back Bizarro from the dead. That's a very likely option, and we know they're going to be experimenting with him. Like, they went through a lot of effort to get his body, and we know that they've been experimenting with Superman's blood even before they got their hands on Bizarro, but now they've got a literal copy of Superman from another Earth. They're going to be using this to their advantage. And so naturally our minds are going to, okay, so if they have Bizarro, they have his powers, they have his DNA, so they're going to try and harness that and use it on other people. Obviously we don't know the ins and outs of what they're exactly trying to do, but we've seen that their experiments do work and they're able to bring people back from the dead and give people that didn't have powers before powers, so essentially turning people into metahumans. So with this, you can presume that maybe they're going to use Bizarro's DNA in order to help out some other people and give them powers just like Superman. But we all know Bizarro is not Superman, and even just the Bizarro world is the complete opposite of our world. So you know, if you're going to mix their DNA with our DNA, something's about to go wrong. And so this has led lots of people to believe that maybe if they continue experimenting with Bizarro throughout the season, and we're on episode 6 coming up next week, so hitting around nearly that midpoint of the season, you know things are going to be amping into gear. So we're going to actually find out what they are actually trying to achieve with their experiments. And like I said, I think them using Bizarro and applying his DNA or however they are doing it to other people is going to go wrong. And so my mind initially and straight away goes to, okay, so if they're experimenting on him, it's going to go wrong. What happens if he turns into some sort of Doomsday? Now this name is very familiar to those of you guys who have been following Superman Lois over the last couple of years, because we thought we were going to see Doomsday on Superman Lois when we had this big reveal, but it turned out that person in the mines in season 2 was in fact Bizarro. And so this comes full circle in terms of my theory. I think they are actually going to introduce Doomsday, and he's going to be born out of the experiments that they do on Bizarro. So let's look at Doomsday and the way that he was originally depicted in the comics. So he was made to be a villain that Superman would struggle to defeat, who would be just as powerful and if not more powerful than Superman himself. So they're able to outmaneuver him in physical means, rather than having a villain like Lex Luthor who can maybe outmaneuver him in terms of his intellect and planning, or other villains that use technology to outmaneuver and beat Superman. And so they needed someone like Doomsday to actually take on the Man of Steel. So in the comics, Doomsday is a genetically engineered creature slash monster being from the depths of prehistoric Krypton, and so his creator imbued him with pure hatred for all beings and a desire for complete destruction. That is what is said online. And if you read the original comic book, when he showed up for the very first time in Superman, the Man of Steel, issue 18 back in 1992, but obviously Doomsday is best known for killing Superman in the Death of Superman story in 1992. But basically how Doomsday was created was back in Krypton, way before Krypton was destroyed. There was a different race of aliens just like Doomsday, but they looked very different, and so he was there in prehistoric times on Krypton, and he actually turned into a science experiment, because when the humanoid Kryptonians took over Krypton and became the dominant species, a scientist actually let one of these infant prehistoric creatures go out into Krypton, and he was initially killed and he was brought back to the lab and he was experimented on again. He was cloned again and again and again and again to form a extremely strong clone of this original being from Krypton. And so the fact that he was killed so many times over and over again was embedded in his very DNA, and so that would literally be the drive of Doomsday in the future. And so eventually he found his way to Earth, and that's where he faced off against Superman for the very first time. As you guys know, Doomsday is well known for his physical appearance. He's got the spikes, he's got the extremely demonic face that he's well known for, and he is just a scary villain overall. And so the important factor of the character's origins is the fact that Doomsday is a scientific creation. Yes, he was originally alive, but he was killed over and over again, experimented on, and cloned many times. And obviously we know that they are doing experiments with various people, but now they've got their hands on someone so powerful like Bizarro. I believe if they continue to experiment on him and keep bringing Bizarro back and back to life, he's going to become stronger and stronger, just like the original Doomsday. And I believe he's going to mutate at some point and potentially become Doomsday. Or in terms of another option, if you guys want to hear one, by using Bizarro's DNA and maybe not necessarily using his body all of this time, I think with the mixing of the Bizarro world DNA that he has and human DNA, that could cause some major malfunctions in terms of the way that this new being could be created. So if they're actually going to be cloning Bizarro and trying to harness his powers, I think at one point they will become sort of mutated, and we could get a Doomsday lookalike and give them the powers of Bizarro, but also make them stronger by doing so many experiments on them. And so that's just like an avenue that I've gone down, but this is not just theory, this is backed up by some evidence. So I'm going to go over to Canada Graphs' blog right now. You can find it in the link in the description below. Read it for yourself after this video. But he's got a blog post about Superman Lois Season 3, and this was when they were filming episode 13. I don't know the exact number of episodes this season, but it's pretty clear that this is going to be one of the final episodes. And so let's go ahead and read through Canada Graphs' blog, because this completely links into what I was just theorizing about. So the scenes shot during this day included Tyler Hoechlin as Clark Kent and Superman, and Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois Lane. And so they shot a daytime scene in a location called Sentinel Plaza. It's nothing of too much importance in terms of what they shot in the daytime scene, but that is what they did first, just to set that up. And then they went on later in the day and they moved across to a different location, and this is where things get very interesting, because according to Canada Graphs, in this scene they had Superman there and he was looking a little different. Despite the fact that it didn't rain more than a brief sprinkle the entire night, they had his hair looking very damp. The scene had a bunch of extras standing around in the area called Centennial Square. Superman then shows up. By landing on the ground, everyone looks at him as he assures them everything will be okay. And at one point the director told the onlookers to look at him as if it was the first time they saw him, which I found weird since he used to live in Metropolis full-time in the past, says Canada Graphs. Before he could do much more than tell them everything will be fine, something is in the sky crashing towards the earth and he leaps off to take it on, and that's all there really was. After that, Tyler rapped. Weird part was, when they rapped, there was 30 or so onlookers watching them film. As soon as they called rap, everyone in unison with the exception of me and another fan left. This gave Canada Graphs time to go see Tyler, and he asked him about the return date for a potential season 4 if they were coming back to Vancouver, and he said not yet, but he assumes it will be about the same time of year as season 3 started. Then he left for the final time that season. And so that's a big deal by itself. We've analyzed the fact that I think Superman and Lois is going to get a season 4. Don't know if it would be at the CW or not, but it's kind of nice to hear from Tyler himself that he would assume it would be the same time next year as season 3 started when they were filming. But in terms of Tyler and what went on with Superman in this scene, the fact that his hair is wet, I presume he's just flown in from somewhere else and it was raining, and so I believe that's what's going on with his hair being completely drenched despite there being no rain where they were shooting in Vancouver. And so that thing in the sky, let's continue to talk about that. So after Tyler wrapped, the crew moved down to the street below where they were filming to do another scene that had no cast in it. This is where I think the most interesting stuff of the evening happened, even though there was nothing to see because of what was heard. And what I saw at one point offset, they shot a scene with a bunch of extras walking around, then suddenly stopping to look at the center of an intersection. The director comments directing how the crowd should react is the key point for this part of the post. He tells the fans, "You see Superman crawl out from the hole, he looks injured." Then the next part of the scene, he tells them something else is coming out of the hole, it's a monster. The last part is he tells the crowd to follow a green laser pointer at a wall up into the air to represent these two characters going up high into the air. At one point they filmed one singular take of a tripod set up in the middle of the intersection. I'm unsure if this is supposed to represent something or if it's a piece of tech they use for a specific look, but they only shot it once. The rest of the time was spent on those extras and one bit of filming looking down a road at traffic driving. Now, why does this part of the evening mean something? It's what I happened to read earlier in that evening. On the storyboard, I saw one panel that had one specific line and a drawing interpretation. There is a comment under an image, "His spikes grow," with a rough drawing of a monster with jagged spikes growing out of him. So there you have it. That is Canongrass's description of what they filmed during the final episode of Superman and Lois Season 3 when they were shooting in Vancouver. Now this is super interesting because this completely ties into what I'm theorizing about, and the fact that we know these two characters are going to be flying, so Superman's going to be flying off, taking on this potential monster as they are described. And so I really feel like this could definitely happen with Bizarro, because Bizarro had the ability to fly because he is Kryptonian, and by the fact that they have this drawing of a spiked monster, the fact that they didn't have Tyler shooting twice with the two different characters, that's what they did before with Bizarro, because if you guys didn't know, it's just Tyler and they CGI his look on after. So I'm fairly certain, like nearly 99% sure, that this is in fact Doomsday that we are seeing whilst they were filming. Obviously they tried to keep it under wraps, but big up to Canongrass for getting this. He actually posted this article a while ago, so maybe some of you guys have seen it, but I'm just now getting around to it because I think it's really interesting since they revealed the Bizarro reveal at the end of last episode. And so I definitely think there is going to be some sort of mutation and something that will go wrong in terms of their experiments, and I think that's where you're going to see Doomsday born out of. And so yeah, it's just really interesting, this scene with the crowd reacting to Superman crawling out of this hole in a potential damaged building, but also the fact that he is facing off and a creature who is described by the director as a monster coming out of there as well, and they're both able to fly up into the air and take on each other, and clearly they've been fighting all around, because I believe that's why Tyler's hair was wet. So I actually haven't been this certain about something in quite a long time, and yeah, it's all down to the details that Canongrass has got that makes me very, very confident, and I think it will tie into Bizarro somehow. So what do you guys think about this? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Are you as confident as me that this is Bizarro we're going to be seeing, or do you think it's something else, some other monster from Superman's lore that is going to be born out of potentially the experiments on Bizarro? So for now, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps out the channel, but also subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. We are uploading daily right now. Plus remember, we live stream every Wednesday, so come join me. You can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.
icy room.